The air was thin at the edge of the cliffs. Below, the plains stretched endlessly, but up here, life was perilous. The sharp winds howled across the rocks, threatening to knock the tribe off balance. Every step was calculated, every gesture a careful measure to keep from falling. In the jagged shadows of towering cliffs, a small group of Homo erectus moved with purpose. They were not just surviving, they were masters of the land, adapted to a life of constant danger. A young male, his face weathered and worn, knelt beside a fire, the flames casting flickering shadows across his face. The heat from the fire seemed to fight against the coolness of the highlands. Beside him, a woman carefully arranged sharpened stones, preparing them for the hunt. The tribe had learned the ways of the land. The cliffs were their refuge, their fortress, but also their prison. In the distance, a lone figure could be seen scaling the cliffs with unnatural ease, its body lithe and sure-footed. The hunter was a woman climbing higher than anyone dared, searching for a better vantage point. Her eyes scanned the horizon, her sharp senses alert for any signs of danger. A herd of wild gazelles grazed in the plains far below, unaware of the predators above. The tribe depended on every member, their strength, their knowledge, their unity. The cliffs kept them safe from larger predators, but also isolated them. The hunt was always a delicate dance of risk. Too far from the cliffs, and the tribe would be vulnerable. The hunt had to be quick, efficient, and most of all, silent. A loud noise shattered the silence. A large shadow loomed, and the tribe's leader, an older male with long gray hair, turned sharply. A distant predator, perhaps a saber-toothed tiger, had appeared in the valley below. The scent of the hunt was in the air, and the leader signaled for the tribe to gather. As the group moved towards the edge of the cliffs, the young male carefully approached the leader. His eyes were wide with fear and determination. The cliffs had given them a home, but they were no match for the large predators that prowled below. Today, the tribe would need to face that fear, face the unknown, and perhaps lose members in the process. But they had no choice. The wind picked up a storm approaching from the east. The tribe was now at the edge, poised to leap into action. The older male's hand gestured in silence, the signal for the attack. They would have to descend. No longer could they wait. The cliff, their refuge, would become the site of their survival or their demise. A storm was coming, and it wasn't just the weather. It was the battle for survival. The tribe descended quickly, using their expertly crafted tools to help them scale down the craggy face of the cliffs. The young male, with a heart pounding in his chest, grabbed a vine and swung down, landing lightly on the jagged rocks below. His breath came in quick, shallow gasps as he crouched, waiting for the others to follow. The leader descended last, his movements slow but purposeful. He was not just the strongest, he was the protector of the tribe. Every decision he made was for their survival, and today the decision was clear. They had to hunt. As the last of the tribe reached the base of the cliffs, they began moving quickly through the tall grass toward the valley below. The wind howled above them, but down here the world was eerily quiet. The plains stretched out before them, an open world filled with both danger and promise. Suddenly, a rustling sound echoed from the bushes ahead. The tribe froze. It was the unmistakable sound of a predator closing in. The young male's eyes locked onto the bushes, his body tensing, preparing to spring into action. But it wasn't a lone predator. It was a pair of wild hyenas, their bodies sleek and powerful eyes glowing with hunger. The leader, standing at the back of the group, gestured for them to stay still. The hyenas were on the hunt, and any sudden movements could give them away. They were smarter than most creatures, they understood the patterns of the land. A deep, low growl echoed from the hyenas as they slowly circled their prey. The tribe was on the edge now, one wrong move, and they would become the prey. The young male held his breath. His heartbeat was loud in his ears. It was now or never. With a sharp signal from the leader, the tribe moved as one, flanking the hyenas. The leader threw a stone, hitting the nearest predator in the side, causing it to stagger. The hyenas growled in rage and charged, but the tribe was already in motion. The young male was at the forefront, using his spear to strike one of the hyenas in the side. The battle was intense, primal. The hyenas fought back fiercely, their jaws snapping. The tribe's tools, simple stone spears, bone knives, and wooden clubs, were their only defense against the power of the predators. For a moment, it seemed as though the hyenas might overpower them. But just as the younger male was about to be knocked to the ground, the leader arrived, throwing himself into the fray with a ferocity born of experience. The two hyenas fell back, finally retreating into the brush, defeated. The tribe stood in silence for a moment, panting heavily. The hunt had been won, but the victory was bittersweet. The battle for survival was never over. As the tribe turned to head back to the cliffs, the young male couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the last test they would face today. The storm was still coming, and it wasn't just the weather that would threaten their lives. As the tribe made its way back to the cliffs, the storm grew closer. The winds howled, carrying with them the promise of rain and danger. The leader, ever vigilant, scanned the horizon, his sharp eyes catching every movement. The prey was not the only threat here. The weather would be as much of an enemy as the wild beasts. The young male, now leading the group, could feel the weight of their survival on his shoulders. Every step was calculated. Every move was a choice between life and death. The cliffs were home, but they were also a trap. They could only be safe for so long. In times of hardship, the land's generosity ran out, and only their will to survive remained. As the first drops of rain began to fall, the tribe quickened its pace. The storm was not just a physical threat. It carried the power to break the tribe's fragile unity. Rain could wash away paths, flood caves, and leave them stranded. The cliffs were their last defense against the unknown. With urgency, the tribe scrambled back up the cliffs. The young male reached the ledge first, his heart racing as the storm intensified. The rain lashed against his face, soaking him to the bone. The tribe climbed after him, each member pulling themselves up with strained muscles, but determination in their eyes. Finally, they reached the top. The wind was nearly unbearable now, but they were safe. The high cliffs had protected them once again. But the young male knew that they couldn't stay forever. They were survivors, yes, but at the mercy of the land. As the storm raged on, the tribe huddled together, their faces worn but resolute. The leader, his voice barely audible above the roar of the wind, nodded toward the horizon. The plains below were dark with clouds, and the thunder echoed like the drums of fate. The battle for survival would never cease. But in this moment, at least, they had won. The young male sat down on a flat rock, his back against the cliff's edge, and looked out over the world they had conquered. For a brief, fleeting moment, there was peace. They were alive, and that was all that mattered. The tribe had faced death, and it had emerged victorious. But this was only one story in a long line of survival. Tomorrow would bring new dangers, new struggles. But for now, they would rest. And in the silence that followed the storm, the tribe shared a meal together as a unit bound by survival, by the will to carry on. The fire crackled, the rain now only a distant memory, and the future for a moment seemed within reach. But as the leader gazed out over the cliffs, his expression hardened. He knew the storm was only the beginning. The land was changing, and the tribe would need every ounce of strength, unity, and survival instinct to face what lay ahead. The journey was far from over.